next session is an equally interesting topic. How do I get a startup funded? So franchisingல கூட நீங்க ஃபண்டிங் பத்தி பேசியிருந்தீங்க. இப்போ ஸ்டார்ட்அப்க்கும் நம்ம வந்து ஃபண்டிங் பார்க்க போறோம். இப்போ எல்லாருக்குமே வந்து ஒரு பிசினஸ் ஆரம்பிக்கணும்னு ஒரு ஆசை இருக்கும், நல்ல ஐடியாஸும் இருக்கும். But the one thing that we need most to transform an idea into a business is money. So அதை பத்தி பேசுறதுக்காக ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் செஷன். அதை பத்தி பேசுறதுக்காக அடுத்த பேனலிஸ்ட் வராங்க. பேனலிஸ்ட் இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்றதுக்கு நான் மிஸ்டர் மணிக்குமரன் இன்வைட் பண்றேன்.
I know we are behind schedule. I am not going to take up a lot of time, but I just want to welcome you all to a wonderful panel. We have a very strong team put together for this panel. Very excited to announce. இது வந்து பேனல் வந்து how to get your startup funded. இது முன்னாடியே நான் பேசின மாதிரி ஃபண்டிங் வந்து இட்ஸ் மோஸ்ட் இம்பார்ட்டன்ட். இட்ஸ் life blood of startup. Great ideas fail without appropriate funding. Different kinds of funding, whether it's you're talking about bank loans, the VC funding, friends and family, we will get into all the details. But first, I just want to welcome all of you, and then இது வந்து பேனல்ல யார் இருக்க போறாங்கன்னா Malaikannan, Sankarasubbu. He is going to be the moderator for this panel. And in addition to Malaikannan, we will have Kailash from North Carolina, KioTek, their founder, Naushard Cader. He's a CFO, and அவரை பத்தி இன்னும் அதிகமா Malaikannan சொல்லுவாரு. Umesh Vallipuram, Arul Murugan, Shanmugavel. அது மாதிரி ரொம்ப நல்ல பேனல் இருக்காங்க. மலைக்கண்ணனை பத்தி நான் சுருக்கமா என்ன சொல்ல விரும்புறேன்னா, ஸ்ரீவல்லிபுத்தூர்ல பிறந்த மலைக்கண்ணன் வந்து grew up in Chennai. He raised VC funding வந்து $3.5 million raise பண்ணாரு. And datalog.ai என்ற கம்பெனியை 2016ல ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணாரு. அப்புறம் ஒரு 1.5 அதை ரன் பண்ணிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் he is working as a CTO and strategy. இப்போ ஒர்க் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு AI based கம்பெனிக்கு. So we are excited to hear about seed capital, startup capital, early stages, mezzanine, whatever, all the exciting various ways of funding. I'm happy to turn it over to you, Malaikannan. You can take it from here. Thank you.
எனக்கு என்னென்ன கொஸ்டின்ஸ்லாம் இருந்துச்சோ நான் வந்து ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் ஃபண்ட் பண்ணும்போது செய்யும்போது அந்த கொஸ்டின்ஸை வந்து நான் போட்டிருக்கேன் பேனலாம். அதே மாதிரி வந்து உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கொஸ்டின்ஸ் இருந்தாலும் ஜூம்ல கேளுங்க. வில் ட்ரை டு கோஆர்டினேட் அண்ட் ஆன்சர். பேனல்ல பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா நௌஷத் காதர் இருக்காரு. அவர் வந்து சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கௌண்டன்ட் அண்ட் லைக் இது சீசன் பிசினஸ் ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜிஸ்ட். PwCல ஸ்டார்டட் ஹிஸ் கரியர். நிறைய இதுக்கு வந்து இப்போ வந்து is doing public markets or like initial public offerings, IPOs and other things பண்றதுக்கான இதுக்கு வந்து கோஆர்டினேட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்காரு. He's also co-founder and CTO of Diortimo Capital Services America. Then we have Shanmugavel Sankaran. Sean வந்து lot of big companies, Microsoft, IBM and startup Capillary Technologies and other things work பண்ணாரு. Then he ventured into his own startup in 2012, bootstrapped it. And he's also a journalist for Forbes. Okay. அதே மாதிரி உமேஷ் வந்து again started his career at PwC. He's based out of Canada. First Asset Management Inc. ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட்அப்ல ஒர்க் பண்ணாரு. அதுக்கப்புறம் he served as a vice president, and that was actually acquired by Affiliated Managers Group. இப்போ வந்து கரண்டா வந்து he's also co-founded another startup called BizRing, property technology platform for real estate investors. அப்புறம் கைலாஷ் வந்து 30 years of experience in industrial automation and robotic systems. நிறைய big brands like Saint Gobain, Coke and other things work பண்ணாரு. அப்புறம் வந்து he also started his own venture. He is actually part of 3 ventures right now. KioTek Digi Networks LLC. I think he's volunteering a lot in Rise conference too, so probably a lot of you will be familiar with him. அப்புறம் வந்து KioTek Digi Networks Private Limited and Apex Ventures LLC. Apro we have Arul Murugan, who's also a serial entrepreneur and venture capitalist. He was a founding managing partner for a 200 million tier 1 blockchain VC fund called Borderless Capital. Adhe mari vandu he's also the CEO and managing partner for 1111 Ventures. 50 plus startups across the globe invest pannirkaru. Few of them are already unicorn, which is a big deal, right? 1 billion plus valuation. Prior to becoming a VC, he was also a founder and CEO of Enric, company. Okay, so welcome on board. ஒரு நல்ல மிக்ஸ், ஒரு entrepreneurs and investors and others இருக்காங்க, serial entrepreneurs. So first question எனக்கு இருந்தது அப்படின்னா வந்து நான் ஒரு கம்பெனி ஆரம்பிக்கும்போது, how do you even vet your startup idea? Bootstrapped it, and he's also a journalist for Forbes. Okay, அதே மாதிரி உமேஷ் வந்து again started his career at PwC.
I want to start with the குறள், இயற்றலும் ஈட்டலும் காத்தலும் காத்த வகுத்தலும் வல்ல ஒரு குறள் இருக்குது. கருத்து பொருள் வருவை உருவாக்குதல், வந்த பொருட்களை தொகுத்தல், தொகுத்த பொருளை பிறர் கவராமல் காத்தல், காத்தவற்றை அறம்பொருள் இன்பம் அறப்பால் செலவு செய்யறதற்கு என்கரேஜ் பண்றது. So this is திருவள்ளுவர் கனகாலத்துக்கு முதல்ல சொன்னாலும் இன்றைக்கு வந்து we can see that analogy of creating entrepreneurial ecosystem first. Second thing is to allow capital formation in a place. Third thing is to protect property rights. And the fourth thing is to allow or encourage people to contribute to charities, tax laws, etc. So I take this as, திருவள்ளுவர் வந்து எங்களோட business law ஒரு 4 வரியிலே சொல்லிட்டு போயிட்டார், இப்படிதான் செய்ய வேணும்னு சொல்லி. If you do that, we all will be prosperous. Given that, let me start. எப்படி வெட் பண்றதுன்னு சொல்லி ஒரு new startup. Everyone wants to do startup at one point in time. It comes and goes. உங்களோட பாஸ் வந்து பேச்சு ஏசி போட்டான்னு சொன்னா you want to start a startup. So you go through a phase in startups, but you first yourself has to vet it before you go and ask anybody else, right? So what you vet, how do you vet it? One thing, the acid test is whether you will buy this product, whatever that is, whether you will be a customer. Your wife or your mother, your father, your children will be a customer, right? Do you think there is a real market for that? Apadi illati, there is no way that you'll have a lot more time in marketing that product to create market interest. But the first thing, easiest things that you have to see is whether it's serving a problem, it's solving a problem. That's what it'll have a future problem that it'll solve. Zoom, for example, solved the problem now, but I hope they were able to see this through, right? So எப்படி நீங்க வெட் பண்றேன்னு சொன்னா, you have to first understand whether the product is solving a problem and whether you could be a customer first.
I think ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங். குழந்தைங்க வந்து actually brutal review for a startup idea. But Zoom வந்து பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா வந்து if they don't like to use, they won't use it, right? அதுதான் வந்து பார்க்குறோம். Good thing. How do you validate your startup idea? கைலாஷ்.
எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். ஒரு 3 years முன்னாடி என்னோட கம்பெனி ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட் அப் கம்பெனியாக தான் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆச்சு 2017. ஸோ அந்த எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸை உங்கள்கிட்ட ஷேர் பண்ணுறதுல ரொம்ப சந்தோஷப்படுறேன். ஒரு ஐடியா வந்து நீங்கள் வேலிடேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு there are 2 components to it. One வந்து the demand side, the other is the supply side. மிஸ்டர் நௌஷட் சொன்னபடி முதல்ல அந்த ஐடியாவை நீங்கள் வெட் பண்ணோம். வெட் பண்ணுறது வந்து அவர் ஆல்ரெடி பேசிட்டாரு. நான் வந்து how do you move forward to validate to your startup அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, start with the problem definition. Your business exists to solve your problem. Okay, அப்படின்றப்ப என்ன ப்ராப்ளம் யூ ஆர் ட்ரைங் டு சால்வ் அப்படிங்கிற கிளாரிட்டி டெஃபினேஷன் வந்து ஸ்டெப் நம்பர் 1. ஒன்ஸ் தட் இஸ் டிஃபைன், நீ யாருக்கு அந்த ப்ராப்ளத்தை நீங்க சால்வ் பண்ணி கொடுக்க போறீங்க. ஓகே, ஸோ திஸ் வில் பி த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப். அண்ட் தென் கோ அஹெட் டு ஃபைண்ட் அவுட் வாட் ஆர் த எக்ஸிஸ்டிங் சொல்யூஷன் ஃபார் தட். நீ உங்களுக்கு வர ஐடியா வந்து உங்களுக்கு தான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து நம்ம சொல்ல முடியாது. It is very, very likely somebody has already got the idea, somebody has already implemented. And today's networked world வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா it is very easy for your customer to go and find the product. If they want something, they can always go on Google, there's Amazon, they can always find the product. So you should do it before you really proceed further to see what is the existing solution. And you have to ask yourself how your solution is going to be better than what is existing in terms of product features, in terms of price, in terms of availability. So there should be a kind of a point to tell you that this is a value proposition. Okay, for my idea. Give other past right shopping find whether there is a gap. So it's very likely that there's always a solution, but doesn't mean that you should not go and do it. Just because there's a hotel there in the next row doesn't mean that you should not build. But the point is there should be a net demand. What is net demand is the demand minus supply. If the net demand is positive and if it is grossly positive, is very positive, then you can please proceed with that. When you talk about the need, okay, the demand part of it, watch for what is, you should keep yourself as a daily routine to monitor what is happening around you. Many entrepreneurs, or I'd say some of them, fail to do that. You should really know what is happening in terms of environment, political changes, and then the economic changes, what is happening, because these determine a lot about how your business is going to flourish. So coming back to how to validate your startup idea, these are the checklist. Point number one, whether there is a net demand and whether it meets, whether there is a market product fit, the product market fit is there or not, whether it fits whatever you're proposing to develop is going to meet somebody's need to solve his problem. Either in the rendu step, there is always other common sense thing like whether it's feasible. For example, how much time it may take from your side, what are the resources you will need, what kind of organization structure you need, how much money you need. This is a feasibility study. Obviously, a startup cannot be thinking about starting 100 crores or for $10 million business unless you have got access to the fund. So that feasibility study has to be done. These are the ways I would say we have to validate our startup idea.
I think I mean, like, it makes a very interesting thing, right? Or idea vet பண்றீங்க, validate பண்றீங்க, product market fit இருக்கான்னு பாக்குறீங்க. Next thing is like, I mean, how do you get it funded, right? There's a term called bootstrapping, right? So Arul, I'm going to redirect this question to you. Bootstrapping na enna? When to bootstrap your startup?
Yeah, great. Ellarkum vanakkam. Before answering the question on bootstrapping, I just want to add two simple points to anyone out there to start the business, right? So I think the previous two people have talked about a lot of good stuff. As a VC, what we want looking at, one, the team. That's the most important one. Are we the right people to solve the problem? So we talked about solving the problem. So what we look at is that even though it's a great problem they're solving, but it's not the right team, it's not good. The second is the right timing. That's where 90% of the people fail. They start too early or they start too late. So the timing is more important. So I want everyone to keep in mind the team is more important. Are they passionate enough? Because 95% of the time when we invested, it's not the same solution they had. They pivot, and 3 years down the line, what they are solving is much different than what they had original. So the team makes a big difference. So bootstrapping, that's my favorite word. I always bootstrap my startup. So even though I'm a VC, what I tell them is that don't try to borrow money. So before I go there, the question is, what's bootstrapping? Bootstrapping means you go and start by yourself. உங்களுடைய பணத்திலே இல்லனா உங்களுடைய friends and families கொஞ்சம் வாங்கிட்டு company வந்து initial start பண்ணுங்க. So everybody can do that, because when you start something, what differentiates a startup is the innovation. Enterprise has a lot of money, but they cannot bring innovative products. So don't think that money is the one that differentiates. That's what people think. Hey, I want to raise a $5 million round. Most of them may fail, actually. It doesn't matter whether you raise a $5 million fund or you have $50,000 that you bootstrap yourself, and 2 or 3 people who are passionate about solving the problem going and doing that. So I always appreciate people who are bootstrapping. And if you don't bootstrap, you lose your precious equity very early on. So always I love people. And who is the best people to sell? The people who are solving the problem. So you are the one entrepreneur solving the problem. You are the best one to sell. So you don't need to have salespeople. You don't need to have finance people. Just go and solve the problem. Be in front of the customer and make the customer enthusiastic, and they refer many people. So I think that's the way I would answer the question of bootstrapping.
I think you brought a very interesting thing, right? So team is very important when you invest in a company, right? ஏன்னா வந்து உங்ககிட்ட பிச் பண்ற ப்ராப்ளம் வந்து ஒன்னு, பட் ஆனா 3 years from down the line they'll pivot, they're going to change, and the team is what really matters, right? So that brings another interesting question, right? உண்மையிலே ஒரு co-founder ஒரு ஸ்டார்ட்அப்க்கு வேணுமா? I mean, can you do it alone, right? I mean, there are people who have done it alone, but again, is that even a necessity, right? Since you mentioned the word team, do you want to take a first stab at it, Arul, and then I want to actually redirect it for Sean also?
I think that's the reason I did not say a person or anything. Team is important. Because when you are trying to solve a problem, you need to have complementary people. So I always encourage people that, let us say I come out with a great idea. I give 1% weightage to that great idea. So idea doesn't mean anything to me. And strategy doesn't mean anything to me. It's all about execution, getting the things done. So when you have a great idea, the best thing you need to do is that find co-founders. Let's say 1 or 2 other co-founders that can complement with you. So you can analyze yourself. What is your key strength? And if you want to be successful, what are the other 2 key strengths that you want to bring it up? I always believe in strength-based leadership. So look at your strength, bring 2 other strengths, complement to yourself. So co-founder is extremely important for you to be successful. And go with that, it's not the idea that matters, it's the way you get it done and the timing that what makes a difference.
Awesome. ஒரு VC perspective சொன்னீங்க. I think I want to hear the entrepreneur perspective. ஏன்னா வந்து co-founder is pretty much getting into a marriage, right? It's not easy finding the right kind of co-founder for you to lead your startup. Okay, so Sean, do you want to give some perspectives around it?
Company வந்து ஒரு 2 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாடி ஆரம்பிச்சப்ப I had a few people to kind of come on board and help, but unfortunately they couldn't join. But eventually my wife helped me. I will kind of say yes and no for this answer. This can be stabilized and bootstrapped without even a co-founder, but you have some complementary person.
But how do you find a product market fit? I mean, the term is very loosely used, right? I mean, apna enna? I mean, Arul, maybe you want to give a little bit of perspective around it.
Kandipanga, I think people complicate this word and people use this as a buzzword every time they ask product market fit. So for me, it's not really, don't complicate that much. What's a product market fit is that, do you have a minimum viable product? That one you can clearly demonstrate to your customer and make customer enthusiastic and they pay it for you. So that's as simple as that. Is it a true demand? What the product market fit tells us, there's a true demand and the customer wants to come and buy it for you and they want to pay you. If you go and have 10 people saying that, hey, they love your product and they don't pay you, it doesn't matter. So product market fit is as simple as true demand that's coming from a real customer paying for your product or services.
So that makes it right interesting. Okay, இப்போ வந்து vet பண்ணிட்டீங்க, validate பண்ணியாச்சு idea, நல்ல co-founder, you bootstrapped it and all those things, right? You're coming to a stage where you think you need funds, right? So I mean, how do you determine what stage you really need money? Answer may be very simple, right? எனக்கு எப்பயுமே காசு வேணும்னு சொல்லலாம். இல்ல, I mean, as a VC or as an entrepreneur, right? I mean, how do you determine when you need money? Okay, I'm going to redirect it to 2 people, Umesh and Arul, for this. Umesh, do you want to take the first one?
Vanakkam ellarukkum. That's a very good question. Arul சொன்ன மாதிரி, the one important thing is, first of all, you have to determine எவ்வளவு capital உங்களுக்கால ஏழுமண்டு and the right partners. But what the next step is, எவ்வளவு capital உங்களுக்கு தேவை அங்கோட அடுத்த ஸ்டேஜுக்கு போறதுக்கு. So as an important thing is, because when you bring outside investors, it becomes also, it could be really a value add or it could be a distraction. So very important for you to determine how much capital I can work with to take it to the next stage until I bring somebody who can be a helpful strategic partner who can help me grow. So it's you have to differentiate between or just a passive investor versus an active investor who can be a strategy, can help you grow. So if you think that somebody can, bring the resources and can also help you grow, that would be the ideal partner in terms of determining, when do you need to bring somebody else to help you, raise more capital.
I think I'll go back to the same thing as bootstrapping. Try to bootstrap and focus on solving the customer problem and making the customer happy. That's why I would say you don't need a lot of money to do that. And you don't need many people to market, no need for a marketing budget. Because if you're really good, you can go and get 5 customers, 10 customers. That's how I built my business, actually. I don't need any other people, actually. So once you have the customer, they're paying customer, and you validate very clearly, Now we want to take the next stage. So let us say that depending upon the kind of business, whether it's $100,000 per year or $1 million per year, have certain good recurring revenue that you built up, and then go to the VC or angel investors and say that, you know what, this is the plan. This is the market that I'm going to after. So once they can see the go-to-market strategy, then that's a good point of time to bring the money, because at the time you're truly using it to scale. So the question you have to ask is that, am I ready to scale? If you're not ready to scale, don't just try to get money. You are just burning the money, losing your equity.
I think very, very valid point. Are you ready to scale, right? Are you ready to take it to the next step? I think that's very valid, right? I think, like, you know, I mean, like, okay, so I mean, like, you know, when to raise funding? Yeah, I mean, like, you know, that is definitely something that we have to do, right? இப்போ வந்து என்னன்னா எல்லா மாடலும் வந்து, I mean, okay, so I think when to raise money, you have to go pitch to VCs or whatever be the source, right? Does all startups fit in a VC model? I mean, like, I think there is some thing in that, right? Naushard, do you want to take that question?
All startup fits into VC model. So VC, nothing against VCs, but they are the vultures. You know, what I'm saying is they want to look at the risk return, right? So the earlier they come in, their risk appetite is very high, and they want usually, you know, higher return, right? So depending on, as you know, Arul said, right? If you bootstrap, it's well and fine. You can have a lot of equity and control. But at that time, that pre-seed or seed time, early seed time, if you go to VC, then you might have to give lots of equity, right? You have to basically give up the control. Usually they look at, you know, if they come in seed time, or, you know, just after incubation or after angel investors, they probably look at, you know, 50% sometime or 60% return annually, the money from the day they invest. So, like, you know, in 3 to 5 years, if they want to exit, usually that's their horizon, right? 5 to 7 years, say 5 years. So it's like if they put $1 today, or this year, in, you know, 2025, if they want to exit, they will look at where they can get $5 out of it, right? Almost. You know, they adjust for inflation, etc., because it's a high risk, right? So it depends on whether you want to give that so much equity at that point, number one. Number two, whether your existing product can sustain itself, right? But as Arul said, you know, there are products, day one, they can sustain themselves, right? So in that case, you don't have to bring the VCs early on, right? The third thing is, when you were to go to VC, you have to always look at what's the, it has to align. What's the purpose of going to get money from VCs? Because they have money and you want money doesn't mean that you have to go and ask for money, right? So the reason that you go to VC for a particular one, right? If you go for Series A funding, for example, you have the, you know, great product, and you have a very strong execution strategy, and you have your revenues posted, and you know, you want to increase the, you know, product capacity or capabilities, and execute the strategy. Then you go and get money. Or you go there, the second stage, to scale up and bring more talent, as you said. You know, then you have profitability there. So depending on where you are in the continuum, so you go to the VCs, right? Sometimes you don't have to go. You can go directly to the public market, right? You know, the regulation, US regulations, Obama in 2012 had, you know, with Dodd-Frank, have added some more regulations which allow you to raise money in the public market on crowdfunding portals, on Reg A, you know, on emerging growth company designations. So it's not a what do you call something, you know, you can change a lot of things. It depends on everything that's going on inside.
So I think இதோட இன்னொரு perspective இருக்குல்ல, I mean, like from a VC angle, right? I mean, should that have some kind of an exit criteria when they invest money, right? Like high risk versus high rewards. But like, for example, the common thing that they say is, okay, I mean, like, should that have like $1 billion exit, like, or a potential for $1 billion exit, or a flywheel aspect for a startup? Arul, do you want to answer that?
See, in general, what I would say is that don't start with an exit in mind. But a lot of time VC is looking for what kind of exit they can have, right? It's a chicken and egg situation. So the true good VCs, what they're not really looking at in the initial stage of investments from exit perspective. What they're looking for is that, do you have a great market? How big is the market potential out there? And then when it grows bigger, what are the opportunities? So there are many different ways of exit. So I would not say that don't try to pitch into your investors saying that, hey, I can exit in 5 to 7 years. Most likely will be not invested actually. So don't talk with exit in mind, even though that might be probably what the VC might be looking for. So that's what I would tell that, like, what people are going to look for is that how passionate that you are and how big a problem that you're trying to solve, how big the market is. And then depending upon the market, there are certain market, it's hard to get an exit. There is a certain market where it's very primed for the exit. Again, the timing makes a big difference. So focus on the timing, everything else will pay out actually. So when you're pitching, forget about exit, be passionate and make sure that you're solving the right problem and make sure the timing is right. And the hardest part, making sure the timing is right. So I can tell easily, but that is the hardest one. So focus on finding is the timing the right. Don't forget about, if you cannot find the timing now, how can you time the exit, which is down the line? I ask people a lot of time. It's harder to find, is it the right timing to solve the problem? How can you find what's the right timing to an exit? I think that would have answered the question very clearly.
I think, like, VC's our perspective, bootstrap pandrom, I mean, like, we're going to go for, but in between there is something called as, like, friends and family, right? We always can go to friends and family for like, some investment money and all those things, right? Sean, I mean, do you want to talk about friends and families around, or like, how, I mean, should you even go and ask friends and family for money, right? And it comes with a lot of tags to it.
Actually, அதை பத்தி நிறைய தப்பு இருக்கு, பட் ஐ திங்க் நம்ம அதை பத்தி ஹெசிடேட் பண்ண தேவையில்லைன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ இப்போ என்னோட இனிஷியல் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ரவுண்ட் வந்து ஒரு $150,000 வந்து வெரி அன்யூஷுவல் சோர்ஸ், விச் இஸ் கவர்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் தமிழ்நாடு. ஐ டோன்ட் நோ whether there is anyone in this whole group who have raised money from government of Tamil Nadu. So we raised $150,000 from government of Tamil Nadu through an entrepreneurship scheme. அது வந்து, as Arul mentioned, it's like it protected, helped us protect our equity. And subsequently ஒரு 2-3 years கழிச்சு ப்ராடக்ட் மெச்சூர் ஆனோன்னு மார்க்கெட் ரிலீஸ் பண்ணி எவென்ச்சுவல் ரெவென்யூ வேலிடேஷன்லாம் பண்ணதுக்கு அப்புறம் when we wanted to scale further, I think that's when I came to Valley. So I think there were a lot of friends from the industry. It was not a friends and family thing. There were a lot of friends, so they came and kind of chipped in close to I think less than kind of $800,000. But to match it to become $1 million, I kind of went and sold my house to make it as a $1 million round. So that's how we kind of scaled. And then as part of the round, I did, it's not only friends, there were a bunch of people from family also. But everybody had some understanding about the problem what we were solving. So எல்லாருக்குமே வந்து நம்மளை பத்தி ஒரு ஒப்பீனியன் இருக்கும். நம்மளை பத்தின ஒப்பீனியன்ல மட்டும் அவங்கள்ட்ட பணம் வாங்காம அந்த ப்ராடக்ட் ஐடியா கன்விக்ஷன் இருக்கான்னு வந்து அவங்கள்ட்ட வெரிஃபை பண்ணிட்டு வாங்கணும்னா ஐ திங்க் தேர் இஸ் நோ issues. And also the instrument what you are taking, it's like don't take it as a debt. That's a very very big advice I want to give. So இப்போ நீங்க யூஎஸ்ல ப்ராப்பரா கம்பெனி இன்கார்பரேட் பண்ணிட்டு ஒரு டெலாவசி கார்ப் ஆக்கிட்டு அப்புறம் வந்து அது ஒரு கன்வெர்டிபிள் டெட், சேஃப் இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த ஃபேமஸ் இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட் இன் சிலிகான் வேலி. அது மாதிரியான கரெக்டான இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட்ல வாங்கினா யூ டோன்ட் ஹோல்டு த பர்டன். டுமாரோ தேர் இஸ் நத்திங் கோயிங் ஆன் ரைட், you at least don't hold a debt against kind of obligation against all these people, right? So at least if the company went down, it's not that you are going down as an entrepreneur. So if you can hold that as a stamp, and then you can move on to the next journey, you can build your next thing, or you can do something else. Adu vandu romba important nu nenikiren.
Awesome. I think that's very valid, right? There's a lot of taboo going and asking friends and family for money. I mean, like, again, they have to believe in that idea, believe in you. I think as a founder, right? I think that's valid. So இதுக்கு நடுவில் இது இன்னொரு ஆஸ்பெக்டும் இருக்குல்ல. I mean, you said you were in Valley, right? Accelerators or incubators, I think that also plays a key role, right? Umesh, do you want to actually take that question, right? Like, அப்படின்னா என்ன ஆக்சிலரேட்டர்னா என்ன, இன்குபேட்டர்னா என்ன, what does it really mean?
So in ஒரு சிம்பிள் எக்ஸாம்பிள் எடுத்தா, ஒரு accelerator வந்து ஒரு mother மாதிரி. So mother, it's a nurturing type, somebody who can help you, like with the idea and guide you through your very early stage. And accelerator வந்து more like your father, the driver. If you're starting to bike, your father wants you to start pushing you more to bike faster. So that's a simple analogy between an incubator and an accelerator. Accelerator is help you in the initial stages when you are forming the idea. அப்போ நீங்கள் உங்களுக்கு the product market fit and சொன்னாரு அந்த idea this to make sure you are building on that to help you build the business plan and take you through the initial stages and also help you on the networking side to introduce you to the different potential investors very early stage. Accelerators once you start making revenue, so you have a product in place, and then to take you to the next level, உங்களோட revenue எப்படி grow பண்ணலாம், எப்படி investment எப்படி next stage அந்த venture capital அவங்களுக்கு introduce பண்றதுக்காக கொண்டு போறதுக்காக இருக்கிறதுக்கு அது accelerators can be really helpful. So and they could in generally accelerators they are willing to make an investment. So generally Y Combinators for example எடுத்தீங்களா, they usually want to take an ownership stake. I mean, they are willing to, funding between, 50 to 150,000 for a, 5 to 10% stake in the company. So they believe in the product and they are willing to invest a bit in you to take you to the next stage. So that's really the difference between the two.
Awesome. So I think you brought one important aspect, right, Umesh? Networking aspect, right? I mean, so in the money layer, is that when you want to raise money, is that something called smart money and dumb money, right? I mean, should we actually raise as an entrepreneur? Should I go and raise money with someone who has a lot of net worth, or should I go with someone who has connections? I mean, how do you determine what is good money?
So good money, earlier சொன்ன மாதிரி, important for you to find the right people who believe in you and are patient capital in the சொல்லுவாங்க. So they are willing to invest along with you to 5 to 10 years. That's very important. They believe in your product and can help you grow. So, connect you with other investors, connect you with other partners. That's good money. Bad money are people who are looking to make a quick buck. So you want to try to avoid as much as possible. Arul சொன்ன மாதிரி, sometimes venture capital you need to find that right fit, because they are, they are looking for 60% to 100% return. So you want to find the right partner who's willing to be patient and help you grow, and also bring new investors into place, and also potential customers that can help you take you to the next stage.
So maybe like a very very dumb question somewhere. Can your investors act as your initial sales folks, right? Open doors for you. Is that even a possibility? Right? And now the typical startup you won't have enough money to go hire a sales and marketing and other things. A lot of money, right? Depending on the stage where you are at. Okay. Upon investors, can they act as that? Can they play that role? Just open the doors, make a connect.
Yeah, I think that has been one of the key strategies for startups, where you bring your own investors to become your own buyers. And if you can ride on their system or infrastructure, I think it'll become much more successful at some time, because they have some financial incentives for the company to grow. And marketing and Salesforce is one key thing. And if the investors become your, and some investors actually do that, it's not VCs, but corporations usually, they have a complementary product sometime, right? So they want to take you and help you. And if you can make that connection, and if you talk to them, I think they would love it. But then in their company, they are going to look at, risk profiling and see, whether your new product is going to, do something else to their existing ones. But there is always synergies that is existing among corporations, where you can get the investors, one of the investors, to do their sales or market, opening new partners, etc.
என்னோட கேஸ்ல ஒரு இன்வெஸ்டர் he was our initial customer, and then after using the product he became a kind of investor. அதே மாதிரி one of the investor has become our partner. He has taken our product to multiple other markets like Canada and a few other markets. So அதனால வந்து always investors are coming because of your product. There is a strong synergy, whatever point நீங்க சொன்னது. அவங்க வந்து உங்களோட ப்ராடக்ட்டை ஆக்சலரேட் பண்றதுக்கான அந்த growth ஸ்கேல் கொடுக்கறதுக்கான நிறைய வாய்ப்புகள் அவங்க மூலமா இருக்கு.
Good. I think I like what Sean said. If your investor can be your customer, they are your best investor. Let me put it very simple. A lot of people talk about dumb and smart money. People think that if an investor can do a lot of connections, that's old days. Hey, I can introduce you to 100 people. That's not, as I said, right? It's not about, you can have a salesperson also who can introduce you to 100 people actually. So don't think that, yes, it's valuable that they can open up and connect to many people. The idea is that how much value that investor can add you in the initial stage. Look at that. It's all about the value that you're adding. The best entrepreneur I've seen, they pick the right investor. I don't invest when they want any investors actually. So for me, it's all about, most of the time, I need to fight that, hey, I want to be there. So that is a good entrepreneur. So you as an entrepreneur, you be in a position to decide which investor to accept based on what value that they can do. And again, this may not be practical for many of you. I understand that part, but try to go towards that. So I'm just kind of taking to the nth level, but keep that as a gauge, and then, but it's harder. And also regarding the dumb money, friends and family, say same thing. Don't try to take friends and family, try to get a good angel investor. So a lot of people say, hey, I want to go and get VC money. Do not go for a VC when you're starting a business. Pre-seed, seed, avoid VCs. I'm a VC, I'm telling you guys, that's not the right thing. That's advice I give it back actually. Go and find a good angel investor. And that is where your strength is actually, how they become a good advisory board for you, how they can guide you, how they can help you, who understands your business. The people who give 100 connections, they may not really understand your business. All they do is that, hey, here's 100 people that I know, and they're wasting your time. You talking to the right people is more important. So these are all the nuggets. I would say that take it and you can be very successful.
I think awesome answer, guys. ரொம்ப interesting. I think நான் பண்ண ஒரு சில mistakes when I started my startup, the kind of money that I raised and stuff like that. I think this answers a lot of those questions. I wish we had the session at that time, right? So இதுல இப்போ வந்து bootstrap பண்றத பத்தி பேசணும், friends and family round பத்தி பேசணும். I think you brought like an angel this thing, right? So seed, angel, like, there are other instruments for funding, right? Convertible note, government grants and stuff like that, right? I think Kailash, do you want to take this question first? வேற என்னென்ன இன்ஸ்ட்ருமெண்ட்ஸ் இருக்கு ஃபண்ட் ரைஸ் பண்றதுக்கு? VCs ஒரு ஆஸ்பெக்ட், ரைட்? வேற என்னென்ன ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கு? இப்போ ஏஞ்சல்னா, I mean, what does it mean அந்த பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்ல?
So one of the speakers இப்ப பேசுறப்ப they made a point that avoid debt அப்படின்ற மாதிரி ஒரு பாயிண்ட் சொன்னாங்க. While I mostly agree to that, there are exceptions also. The debt வந்து it also gives you leverage. Okay, if you are able to, example, if you are able to get a bank to give a loan for about 3%, and if you're so confident, if you believe in your product, in your business, if it's going to give you 30% returns on your business, that gives you 10 times leverage, simply, right? What money you are getting from there. I agree that the debt, if business goes south and then you end up losing your equity, gets bankrupt, then you are tied to the debt. Equity can be, it diminishes with your business if it goes bankrupt. I understand that. That way you're protected. But you should not be starting, if you are fearful, if you don't believe in a product or your business, that you don't want to get debt, that means you have to really introspect whether you're making the right decision. Okay, and the other thing is that you need to be careful that your debt should be less than half of your assets. If your asset is, let us say, 10 crores, do not assume debt more than 5 crores so that you're still protected. Okay, so debt, when you talk about the various sources of funding, debt, in my opinion, is a very good leveraging tool. Provided if you're careful about it and if you're into the right business, it's a very good leveraging tool. We also invest in a lot of real estate. The returns mainly come to us out of the leverage. Okay, we invest 20% and the 80% is coming from the mortgage. That gives you tremendous leverage to us. That's why we're able to be successful in another company I have in real estate. So I would definitely recommend that if you know what you're doing. Okay. Second is a convertible note. Where does it becomes important is if you're going to go for, let us say, angel investor, what he's looking for is not for a kind of a fixed return. He will not be satisfied with the 6% return or 8% return. So the way to attract the right people, the good money, is to offer them another carrot. And the carrot is a convertible note. What it means is initially you are receiving them in terms of your debt with your cheaper or lower interest rate. That is just to assure them, look, your money is safe, it is secured, and then you're guaranteed with this kind of return. But then since he's not going to be satisfied in the long term, offer him, we'll also give an equity conversion. Your debt. That's the second part. And the third part is the government grants. Give your idea. Is going to be socially helpful. If it is going to be aligned with what the government wants. Remember that every government, they are focused on certain social values. If the problem you're trying to solve is going to have social value, for example, something you're trying to do on smart city, example, or trying to solve your water scarcity problem, or controlling the environment, I mean, pollution control, for example, improving climate control, all those things. So anything that impacts and the society in a positive way and also aligns with the governments, guaranteed the government has got plenty of funding. Okay, there are organizations for that. Go after that. Make yourself visible to them. Start applying. Even if you don't get accepted, keep on trying it. Because like you, the government also needs businesses. Okay, the startups and highly self-driven businesses to solve the social problems. But you'll be successful, as I said, if your product is socially valuable. It makes an impact, number one, on the society, number one. Number two is that it is aligned with the government. If yes, plenty of grants are available, both in India, in US, and in every country. Trust me, there are funds are available. I know departments where they are not able to find the right people to give the money. They're willing to give the money. There are no takers. Okay, pursue that. And apart from the other things, we already know that, like friends and family, well, that is to be avoided because you are risking the relationship. Okay, so that is most valuable than anything else. So I'll ask you to avoid that. These are my feedback.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Kailash. I think it's very valuable.
One more thing, Malaikannan, with Kailash, with government, large non-profit corporation, Clinton Foundation, all these large ones who has lots of money, they're looking for startups, entrepreneurs who are solving public problems. So, that is another way that you can actually fund it. I know, Abraj Capital in UAE, they have, the company itself, they were, leveraged from multiple places, including money from, all these large non-profit organizations, like not even the final company, but the middleman. So like there's a lot of opportunities is available. And as I said, as Kailash said, you have to think about a little bit about tax in this whole equations, leveraging and how much, how much you can get benefit out of it. 80-20 on mortgage and etc. There are a lot of deduction that you can take. Large corporations do this very well, right? Intercompany loan, intercompany interest, all kinds of things. So I think that's one of the things probably we are not aware of, and you have to think about that. The lot is out there. It's the money that is on the table that you're not taking.
Yeah. So let me give a couple of practical examples. Actually, I think Kailash, you covered pretty good. So I just want to do, I think Naushard also added about the grant. So many entrepreneurs don't know the power of grant because that's a non-dilutive capital. Not only it's non-dilutive, grant is considered as a revenue to your company. So if I got a $1 million grant, I had a $1 million revenue because through the grant, you are solving a problem. They're not just giving you a grant just because you want the money. They're giving a grant to solve that they care about. That's how, whether it's coming from government, Department of Defense, a large corporate, anything. So I want to give an example. Here in Atlanta, it's a Tamil entrepreneur, Raj Palaniswamy. He started a company called Software Automation. We invested in them. basically, I invested because Walmart has given a $2 million grant because they're bringing the manufacturing local from China. Here, everybody is fed up like getting everything from China, and they are making the manufacturing available local. And then before that, they got $6 million grant from Department of Defense. So we are talking about $8 million of grant before I even put in my money. And last month, they got $22 million of grant approved as a next stage by the Department of Defense, actually. So there's a whole out there. If you focus on, I would say that every entrepreneur should look at to see that how I can get the grant or SBA loans. And then the vehicle, I want to make it simple. The best vehicle, good for entrepreneurs, is SAFE, simple agreement for future equity. It's better than convertible note. I think Kaushik very clearly said, the investors not coming and giving the money to you for a 6% or 8% interest, then why should you even pay that 6% or 8% interest? In the SAFE, you as an entrepreneur don't need to pay for interest. The investors don't care about the interest. So why you want to, again, add a burden to your startup by agreeing to pay a 6% or 8% interest rate? So SAFE, it's not having any maturity. Why you want to put a burden by putting a 1-year term or a 2-year term to pay that one? So look at SAFE. SAFE is best, and it's very standardized. But if an investor prefers a convertible note, go for it. It's not a big difference. Again, SAFE and convertible note, not a big difference. Either one of them are good. But if you have a choice, go for a SAFE.
Awesome. So I think, like, in the revenue perspective, the way you explain, like, government grants are actually taken as a revenue, that's actually a big deal, right? As a startup showing revenue, that shows good amount of traction, right? So I have like this question, right? For example, like, okay, so grants pandrom, sayrom, idallam pandrom overall. Still, you said, like, you invested money in that particular startup, right? Typically, how do people get connected to VCs? Aduvey oru periya iduva irukku. I mean, do VCs typically prefer, like, a cold email or a warm connect? For example, உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சவங்க ஒருத்தங்க introduce பண்ணி அந்த மாதிரி பண்ணணுமா? இல்ல, I mean, like, can somebody just cold email you and still you respond back? How would that work? Arul.
Okay, that's for me. Great. I would say avoid cold because you're wasting your time. Always find a warm introduction. And you are not an entrepreneur if you cannot find a warm introduction to get into a VC that you want. I would say blindly. If you cannot connect to the people that you want, you may not be a right entrepreneur. So that's what I would say, that connection is very important. If you want something, you need to get it achieved. So find a people that know them, go through them. So if you get introduced by the person that VC trusts them, they are going to talk to you in the right attitude, right impression. So you have a higher chances of success. And second, do not talk to VC when you want to raise money. Build a relationship with the VC. It takes about 6 months to 1 year by the time the VC wants to know. So you want the money tomorrow, VC is not the one to go for. So always a warm introduction, and do not have your first contact with a VC to raise money. The first contact to a VC should be to build the relationship. They want to know your business. They want to know how you're progressing. The same way, when you go to the bank, focus on building the relationship with your bank. I grow my business. I started with $25,000, grown it to 10 million in less than 4 years, not even got a single dollar. I built a great relationship with my bank because I told bank what I want to do. Every quarter I go and talk to them, they see that. So build a relationship with the bank. Bank could be your VC actually. They give me a lot of line of credit, guys. So we have not talked about the bank line of credit. That's amazing actually.
Nice. That's pretty cool. So I think Naushard, I have this question, right? In the alphabets, Mari, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and so on, they just keep on saying about the serious funding, right? I mean, what does it really mean? As a layman, right? Sometimes when you look at some of these questions that I get from my parents or whomever, right? I mean, like, what does it really mean? Can we explain maybe in a minute or two what it?
Yeah. Quickly, it's sumar jargon. Don't worry about it. First of all. Usually it's a stage. So you have this pre-seed, right? That is bootstrapping time, right? Then you have the seed stage where you have, you get introduced to incubators and angels, etc. Then, that those 2 times you may not have any revenue, any profits usually, right? But once you start, posting revenues, not necessarily profits, then you can go and look for money from investors, not necessarily VCs, but investors where you can give. So that stage is called Series A, okay. Right? Then you have Series B where you have profits posted. You're self-sufficient, right? So the people who come in that stage are little less, they take little less risk and little less, you know, reward basically, right? And Series C is like, you know, that is usually before you go for IPO, these are the guys. So hedge funds and VCs and investment banks, they come all on that Series C time, so D time.
Okay.
That is, you do that to increase your market penetrations and, you know, show the world that you are big. You probably use that money to buy a competitor sometime, a small competitor, scale it quick, successful. And then with that, you go to the public market, right? So there are people who come in CDE time are the people who wants to get something and get out usually, right? When it goes into IPO, right? So it's not, so people do, you know, the confusion, it's a stage of funding basically, right?
Okay.
And the type of risk appetite they have, as well as the type of companies or investors who come in.
Okay, so I think it brings another important aspect too, right? Does all VCs, like, you know, or VCs, I mean, there are some legendary VCs, right, who go into a lot of areas, like A16Z, like, you know, Sequoia and others, right? And there are some which are very, very niche and focus on, I mean, if a pitch do you have to worry about what stage a VC would fund a company, like, you know, அவங்க risk appetite இதெல்லாம் vary ஆகுமா, இல்ல அவங்க fund raise பண்ணி அவங்க ஒரு period இருக்கு, அந்த டைம்ல வந்து they could fund, they would have bigger risk appetite. I mean, how do you gauge this? Maybe Naushard and Arul in the question.
Yeah, sure. And Naushard, if you want to go first, yeah.
So usually the VCs, they will tell you that, you know, we are funding only, you know, Series A's and up. Usually they tell you that, right? You know about it. There are some VCs who are like into, you know, in the entire spectrum, but there are some VCs like they do only, you know, certain things, certain series.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think let me try to answer the previous question as well and this question, so that this is very important for entrepreneurs to understand, right? I think not many don't understand about the different series that are there and what kind of VCs that I need to approach. So I think Naushard very clearly said, like, just put them into two different buckets, because I want to make it very simple. So up to Series A, either you're doing a seed, we call post-seed, that's basically a traction round, before you get into Series A. So there's a lot of VCs would say that I want to see at least $2 to $3 million of annual recurring revenue before I want to come in, right? That's where most of the people, that's what we call them as an early stage VC. Anything before that's more like an angel investors and everything. So, or maybe put three buckets. I want to get pre-seed, some kind of a seed through angel or some local angel group that's out there. There are many different ways, actually. There are many variations to that. Then early stage VC comes in, and 90% of the time, you can very clearly say whether they're an early stage VC or they're more of a growth stage VC. It's very, very clear. So when you are trying to get a seed, post-seed, or a Series A, make sure that you're going after the early stage VCs. And you should be able to find it very clearly. And then once you are in Series A, then you are very, very knowledgeable. So I don't think you need to worry about the growth stage VCs, because by the time you understand the whole world, I never seen any entrepreneur who got a Series A funding wondering how to do the Series B or Series C. That's the easy one. All the questions. So I would rather not worry everybody about the other ones. Worry about seed or Series A. So most of the early stage VCs are regional focused. So Sequoia, A16Z, Union Square Venture, whatever you're talking about, they are more of a national brand that you're thinking of. It's not like it's a brand that matters. It's not at all. Go to your local VC who is focusing on them. They are the one who can add the most value. Even if you get the money from them, you may get squeezed actually, because they may have a different expectation. It's a great VC, right? We're not talking about, we know them, they're amazing VCs. So getting the money from the right VC, and most of the time it will be your local regional VC that you can get the money from. And then why the different series are there? It's basically the entrepreneur should understand about the preferred shares, because a lot of people lose a thing because they don't understand the preferred shares. Don't go for a participating preferred. That's the worst scenario that you would have. So one of the best VCs, they don't try. A lot of regional VCs, they try to go for a participating preferred. Again, read about it, why it is. I don't want to do that. So make sure that you do that. the only preference that you may want to give to your VC is the liquidation preference. That's what the VC cares. So the later they come in, they want to make sure that it's a waterfall. They want the first one, right? So they want to take the money out. Give a 1x liquidation preference. That's fair. I'm putting the money. Hey, for some reason things don't go well, I want to get my money back. In case you exit. So let's say if you raised $5 million and you had an exit and you are able to raise, you are able to sell only for $5 million. The entire $5 million will go to the investors. Or if you raised $8 million, $5 million will go to the investors. The remaining $3 million will be going as per the waterfall. So some would be going to the common shareholders actually. So these are the ones I would say, focus on regional VCs, and a lot of times the regional VCs may have unfair terms. So a lot of entrepreneurs are losing their precious equity because they don't understand the terms in which they're signing. So try to educate yourself. Don't give away precious equity because you don't understand the term.
I think it's very, very interesting, the equity angle, like dilution and other things, right? I mean, we talked about a lot of these capital aspects.
Excuse me, sir.
Sure.
Mr. Malaikannan.
Yeah.
Can we just wrap this up in 5 more minutes?
Sure. Like I think we're coming to the end of the questions too. We planned it well. So I think we in the capital pathi nariya pesnom senjom idla in the entrepreneurial journey. I mean, it's not for the weak-hearted, typical, right? There's some amount of emotional capital involved for doing this kind of work, right? I mean, what is the support ecosystem that is needed? All entrepreneurial journey is successful, right? I mean, you're going to have failures, right? And how do you handle that and all those things, right? So maybe Sean, do you want to take a stab at it first, then we'll pass down to Kailash after that?
I think ஒரு நல்ல அட்வைசரி போர்டு இருந்ததுன்னா வந்து அது ரொம்ப யூஸ்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும். நம்ம வந்து அந்த அட்வைசரி போர்டு அசம்பிள் பண்ணுறதுக்கு வந்து நம்மளோட பாரை வந்து கொஞ்சம் ஓப்பனாக வச்சுட்டு நம்ம வந்து டைவர்சிஃபைடு போர்டாக இருந்ததுன்னா நல்லது. ஆண்டர்பிரினர்ஷிப் ஏரியாலேருந்து இல்லாமல் நம்ம இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில் இது மாதிரி மல்டிபிள் ஏரியாஸில் ஒரு அட்வைசரி போர்டு இருந்ததுன்னா தே கேன் பி அவர் சவுண்டிங் போர்ட் வேர் தே கேன் we can ask a lot of things, business questions or even at times a bunch of other things. So also have a very kind of a family board kind of a system where you kind of go to them, tell them that what's happening. So it's like you don't have an obligation, but still you go to them because they are the biggest one who are giving their emotional support to you. So have a family board kind of a system where you keep them updated that what's transpiring on a kind of a monthly or a quarterly fashion, so that they are also with you. So நீங்க அவங்கள்ட்ட போய் நீங்க பேசலாம், நீங்க வந்து இது மாதிரி பிரச்சனைகள் நடந்துட்டு இருக்கு, hiring issues, capital issues, fundraise issues, என்ன இருந்ததுனாலும் அது ஒரு it's a big emotional trauma. So always see, I have written a lot about the dark sides of entrepreneurship. வந்து இப்போ வந்து ஒரு நியூ இப்போ வந்து ஒரு பிராண்ட் வேகன் ஆயிடுச்சு. அதனால people are trying to jump on it without knowing the cost. So at times we need to be cognizant of what's there. Even there are some dark sides of it. அது தெரிஞ்சுட்டு இறங்கினா ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. ஸோ கொஞ்சம் எமோஷ்னலி ட்ரைனிங்காக இருக்கும் சில சமயங்கள். பட் ஸ்டில் ஒரு நாளே வந்து ஒரு மார்னிங்கில் வந்து நம்ம ரொம்ப அப்பீட்டாக இருப்போம், ஈவினிங்கில் வந்து ஸோ டவுன் பீட்டாக இருக்கிறதுக்கு வாய்ப்புகள் இருக்குது. இட்ஸ் லைக் இட்ஸ் எமோஷனல் ரோலர் கோஸ்டர் டு புட் இட் இன் ஒன் வேர்ட். ஸோ பட் ஆனால் வந்து இட்ஸ் கோயிங் டு பி த ஹோல் ஜேர்னி இஸ் கோயிங் டு பி ஸோ ரிகார்டிங். Forget about the success, monetary things, etc. End of the day, all of us are trying to pursue entrepreneurship just to get financial independence, one, and also in the process we are trying to make a dent in the world. So இது ரெண்டுமே பண்ண ட்ரை பண்றப்ப still வந்து at times if it's not going also right, so you have a good sounding board, advisory board, family kind of a fallback system through which you can kind of at least get your emotional side of it fixed. More forget about the financial side. Financial side always you will, if you are bootstrapping, you will have more struggles. If you are venture capital you funded, you will have different other sort of struggles, but still kind of that is taken care.
Sure. ஒரு 5 பாயிண்ட் இதுல வந்து நான் ஆட் பண்ண விரும்புறேன். First of all, entrepreneurship வந்து it is not for everyone. Okay, so don't get glued with all the success stories you read in the media, because only success stories come out. There are many failure stories which get buried, which don't even come out actually. That doesn't mean that you should not do, but it needs a unique characteristics. All I'm saying is not meant for everyone. So what are those characteristics? First of all, it needs a lot of self-discipline. Okay. Secondly, you know how to manage your time. You're going to wear multiple hats. You have to do everything, starting from idea clarification, to market research, creating the prototype, creating the products, setting up your manufacturing operations, okay, all your infrastructures, and then setting up your marketing, sales, fulfillment, business support services, finance, legal, human resources. So many hats you have to wear. So this means you need to really manage your time. So you should be prepared for that. The world can throw trash at you. Okay, they may discourage you, they may curse you, they may laugh at you. So you should have the mental attitude that how you see yourself is more important than what you think the world sees you. Don't worry about it. Don't care about what the world looks at you. How you see yourself, that kind of emotional IQ, the high level of emotional IQ is absolutely important if you want to succeed in entrepreneurship. And the last point is that you should set expectations with your family members and friends. Okay, if you have young children, let them know what your dad or mom is doing, why they are doing it. Okay, set the expectations and say that these are the time slots available. You love your family. Let them know that you love your children, you love your wife, you love your family, but this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do. Set the expectations. Let them know that you're not going to be attending a party with 1 hour notice. Let them know that you need some notice, some advance notice. Let them know that you are available only so hours, not the other hours. Set this right expectation, balance act, and I think you should be able to overcome the emotional roller coaster.
I think I want to, I think that's really great, right? I think we have one audience question which I want to direct to Umesh. I think it's more of like, seed funding. I mean, how do you raise seed funding like, in US, Canada, India, and Sri Lanka? Umesh, do you want to take it up? Is Umesh still on?
Sure. I mean, seed funding can come in several ways. Angel investors are, generally there, out there. Friends and family can help you a lot. I mean, certainly you're going to bootstrap with your own capital, and the next level is what you're looking for in seed capital. So, the best way to do network people that and also could be angel investors who can be playing a big role in getting you that next capital that you need to grow to the next stage. So.
Awesome. I think that kind of completes our questions and stuff. Thanks for that amazing panel. I think I learned quite a bit, even though I had founded my own company and stuff. Arul, Kailash, Sean, Naushard, Umesh, amazing. I mean, thanks for sharing all your knowledge and stuff. This is a lot of experience that has come into picture. The emotional aspect of it, it's a roller coaster journey. Definitely, our startup into that. I think it was really highlighted well. Our support system, our support ecosystem, I think RISE is doing a wonderful job by bringing that together and the different perspectives around now. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, be bold, solve the problem that you're passionate about it, you will be successful. So don't give up. That's the main thing. Thank you, guys.
All the questions that you asked Malaikannan sir, and then you also answered the questions put up by the audience, the chat box. As you said, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. So, it is much related to what kind of person we are and how passionate we are about the product and how passionate we are about solving the problems of people. So it's all about this. So the growth of your business is much related to the growth of yourself. You grow as a person. That's the most interesting thing. Shan kuda chonnaru, it's not about the money that matters. It's all about the person you become in the end. What you are is more important than what you have, right? Well, that was a wonderful session. Thank you so much.